everyone. Welcome to the Roast B2B Cringe Ads. I have Adam Holmgren with me. Adam is Director of Demand at Ryan, and he runs his own show as co-founder and CEO at Fibbler. Adam, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good to be here. Always happy to roast some ads, right?
Adam, maybe we can start with a quick intro about you and your experience in demand gen.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been working in demand gen and similar for the last decade or so in various tech startups and scale-ups. And during the past 2 years, I've been running my own company called Fibbler, which I'm now going full time with in 2 months' time. So it's very exciting. And I've obviously been working, especially the last 5 years, I would say, deep within the LinkedIn ads sphere, since I believe it's definitely one of the most powerful channels out there for B2B. And I think I've learned a thing or two about, creating good ads, and building this company Fibbler has really also allowed me to go a bit above and beyond in trying things. Yeah.
Quick intro about me. So I am Rish. I work at Content Beta. We are a creative as a service for software companies. We help B2B software companies create marketing creatives like videos, designs, ads, campaigns. But more about that later. So let's start, Adam. Just to like a quick agenda, housekeeping stuff. So we'll first talk about why most B2B ads are boring in your perspective and why do they fail to convert. We'll look at a few video plus static ads, um, and then the closing notes. Now, typically, although the name of this show is Roast B2B Ad, it's the angle is more educational as opposed to making it make fun of these ads. The idea is how do we what do we pick up the good, bad, and the ugly from each of these ad creator. Um, Adam, ready to roll?
Yeah, ready.
Correct. Well, maybe Adam, we start with this. Why do you think people call B2B ads boring to boring ads?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think the main issue is still the purpose of running these ads, right? I think people are still very stuck in driving conversions and driving leads, and I think that is what ultimately creates bad ads, because that creates generally an ad where you put your product on an image, you put maybe a headline, and you put a get demo button, and that's about it. But I think if we look at advertising from a broader perspective, which I think the B2B space has forgotten a little bit, is, it's about creating emotions typically. It's about being recognizable in your audience, making sure that they feel like you understand them, like you are them. So yeah, I think it's about, coming in with the wrong mindset of driving leads, especially from a channel like LinkedIn, right? That is not at all about that. It's an awareness channel, firstly. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I had similar thought, and I always feel that B2C guys are much ahead, at least in terms of performance marketing or demand generation, mainly because they have an emotional POV, right? And in my view, at least, a lot of B2B brands, technology brands I follow, they're stuck in their brand guidelines and brand identity, and they don't want to move out. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I feel they're boring.
Yeah, 100%.
Great. So let's start with our first ad. So this is by Framer. I picked it up from Reddit. It's like a kind of like a physical ad. Maybe Adam, I'll leave it to you.
Um, Generally, I like these guerrillas type ads. I think the entire idea is brilliant, but obviously the execution is not really working here. I mean, what I should say that they are doing quite well though is that they are at least making sure the logo is visible and the name is visible at all times. But obviously, their entire messaging that they are trying to get out here is not understandable. But I mean, I think this is probably a good test for them that they learned a lot from, and they will probably do it better next time.
I think the way the door cuts through ship it. I think it's dangerously close to a certain four-letter word. So either somebody who's created this as ad as a edgy sense of humor, or they forgot that hey, bus has doors which open.
Exactly, exactly. But I mean, A for effort still. I still think
Yeah,
most B2B companies don't do, advertising on buses. So I still think that they have something there.
lovely. Let's move on to the next one. Um, this one by Walnut. Adam, let's start with you.
This is definitely one of my favorite ads of all time. I think Walnut is an awesome brand. I love the simplicity of this ad. It makes me feel something. It makes me laugh. It creates emotion. And the best part of these things that they have been running is that they have ran hundreds of different variations of this type of with different animals and different objects and so on, but still keeping the same core concept and messaging. So I think this is brilliant, and it's also not over designed. So I think this is A plus.
Yeah, I think somebody told me that, hey, how do you, because if most B2B ads are like very much on brand with font, with their logos and all. So how do you break the monotony, right? That, hey, you look like the rest of it. And this ad reminds me of that. And plus, this is a classic meme, I think, from really old days. And I think, yeah, I think that it reminds me that, hey, you should please take a look at this product.
Agree.
This one is a video ad, so I'll play the video and then maybe we can start with your point of view.
Mm.
What do you think about this?
Um, I think in general the concept is pretty funny. But I mean, I'm not the audience, but I would say I'm having a hard time really understanding what they do.
Mm,
Like I get that they are trying to argue for being a cost-free version of all of these platforms that they are referring to, which I think they're doing in a very brilliant way. But I have a very hard time, and I'm obviously not the audience, but I think they could be much clearer about what they actually do.
I think I really like the hook that it's a different kind of ad. I don't see these kind of ads all the time. So I like that you break the monotony. Just what I felt it was a bit slow.
Yeah.
And to to get about that company, I think I have to spend 25, 30 seconds to make full sense out of this. Um,
Yeah, and typically we don't have that attention span, right? Like for us to sit through this entire video, we need to be you know, teased even more maybe in the beginning. I don't know.
mm.
But maybe towards their audience it's perfect. I don't know. But I feel also it's a bit slow. It's a bit hard to understand for me at least what they do. Yeah.
Adam, maybe you can share some of your experience from the past. What what kind of art structure would you recommend? I mean, how long, and which variables do that depend on? I mean, how can if somebody starting want to create ads today for their brand,
Yeah.
how should they think about it?
No, but if we talk about video specifically, I think shorter in general is better. I mean, 10, 15 seconds is typically good enough. And I'd say, like compared to image ads, where we typically always have some sort of branding, we have a logo that's clearly visible. In video, that's often forgotten. So I think it's important to make sure these videos have clear brand elements as well in them, and it's not just a scene in a video, but it's very clear what brand they're coming from. Maybe there are certain videos with mascots in them that are great. I think shorter videos to the point, typically some humor in them, and not forget branding. I mean, when people scroll on LinkedIn, they should see that it's your video before it plays. I think that's important.
Mm. Mm. And one thing you told at the start of this is LinkedIn is not the platform generate like easy leads, right? Can you elaborate on that? Why would you say that?
No, I mean, I think the average on LinkedIn of people actually clicking on an ad is about 0.04%, which means that 99.6% are not clicking on ads, right? But they are consuming. That's how the world we live in today. We are consuming so many ads every day. But we are not clicking, and we are not booking a demo, and we are not converting right away. That's not how it works. But if we see an ad from a company like the walnut one we saw before, uh, back in the days when they launched that, I saw it every day, new ads similar, and maybe did it for years. And if I was ever searching for such a solution, that solution would most likely pop up in my head, and I would turn to Google or write their name directly in the browser and head to their site, and we would never see that it came from something like LinkedIn, right? So I think it's important to, the purpose of advertising on LinkedIn is to reach all of the potential buyers, not just the 0.04%. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's move on to the next ad. This one is one of the recent campaign by Rippling, and I think I still see it on LinkedIn on posts. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is also like now I know what rippling does, but if I didn't know what rippling does, I would not get at all what this is about. I think it's very confusing.
Hmm.
Like
I
now I'm
like.
looking at the bottom one. Maybe the one above is clearer with 50 tools to onboard one employee. Then I get what they're doing. But the one in the bottom, I would never understand. It also feels a bit AI to me or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of our clients, when we do videos or static ads, the first thing they say, hey, make sure it doesn't look like AI driven, that people lose interest.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? Do we use AI? When do we stop? When do we go with AI? What are your thoughts?
No, and I think I agree. I think I think AI definitely has its place. I think it's hard to, we see companies now running full image ads and video ads created by AI, and I still think it's visible that it is created by AI today.
Hmm.
That will of course improve over time, but I think it loses some soul and some depth to them often, which I think is take the walnut example. It's not polished,
Hmm.
but it's very good. Like it's like,
Hmm.
and I feel like in ads, you need to, people should understand what you're trying to tell them right away. It's not about being clever. It's about letting people understand what you want to tell them and hopefully make them feel something in that situation, right?
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Um, so this is by Ironclad AI. What do you think?
Um, I think this is I think this is clear. If any ad is clear, this is very clear what they do, obviously. But I also think it's a bit boring. So I like it because of the clarity. I would maybe like something else. First and foremost, they have the logo in there, but I don't, I would never recognize. If I was scrolling on LinkedIn, I would never remember that they are the ones behind this. So I think they need to do something with the branding for sure, to get some sort of more distinctive element in there. I do like the entire workflow thing that they are. That's quite funny. But I think they could maybe do it in a better way, or do it in a funnier way at least.
I think for me, I felt it's a bit of slightly overwhelming for somebody to understand. I know there is a bit of humor in this creative too.
Yeah,
I mean, if somebody needs to do ironclad AI, why don't you start with that? Hey, hate contracts, try ironclad AI, right? Why do you want somebody to go through yes and no, and then maybe the creator wanted to make it a bit lighter in terms of humor.
yeah.
But yeah, I wish it would have been more direct.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this creative is obviously I think it's pretty quickly done in a sense, but I don't know. Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. So this one is by Reach Desk. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, now I also know what Reach Desk does. I think this is funny. I think the only problem with this though is that bone tired of waiting on replies. This could mean that Reach Desk does anything. It could be anything sales related. So I think
Hmm.
it's funny. It creates it definitely creates something in me, but they need to better explain where they are in this scenario. Okay, we're tired of waiting for replies, but what why does reach desk matter in this scenario? And maybe they do explain that above the ad. I don't know. But I mean, if I didn't know reach desk, this wouldn't make sense to me. But I like the ad. Yeah.
In my view, I think throwing a skeleton for endless waiting as a metaphor is overused. Um, and normally I feel that hey, if something, it's not refreshing anymore. I mean, because it's not new. So maybe if you want to, if somebody wants to do a different thing as a part of waiting like endlessly, maybe use a different metaphor. I mean, something which is more refreshing,
Yeah.
as opposed to skeleton. And of course, yeah, I mean, even I know reach this, so I know that hey, if you're waiting for email replies, you can just move over to calls. Um, uh, but yeah, maybe change the metaphor a bit. Um, this one is surprisingly funny. Um, what's your take?
Um, I I think it's I mean it's obviously it's very clear, but I don't see any brand in there, which is
Yes, absolutely. Even I got confused. Why would somebody spend like thousands of
uh,
dollars to just show
exactly.
the value growing?
And there's no next step, right? So there's very okay. We know that there exists a number one investment platform in the UK, but we don't know which one it is. Um, so, I mean, I think that one could have worked pretty well because it's quite clear what it does. It's not really engaging, but in that area maybe it doesn't have to be. But you know, the branding has to be in there.
Let's go to the next one. This is by Launch Darkly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is this is a classical demo ad, right? And I'm not a fan. I mean, this doesn't make me feel anything. This is this is a classic ad where we're trying in B2B to drive demo ads, and most often it's not successful. I mean, it's pretty clear what Launch Darkly does, so that's fine, I guess, and it's pretty well branded. It's most likely it's not many brands that look this way. So in that sense, I could maybe recognize Launch Darkly, but I mean, it doesn't make me feel anything, and I doubt it get a lot of people to book a demo.
Even I felt the copy is a bit vague.
Yeah.
Unless you are targeting people who already knows Launch Darkly, maybe then it's a good idea.
Yeah, and maybe
But
this
if
is
you're
in
targeting,
retargeting, right? Because then people would know them. Um,
yeah, that might make sense. What is your perspective on what is a good ad in terms of reaching out a prospect for the first time versus retargeting? How would
um,
those ad creatives differ?
yeah, but I think it's a big difference. I think if we're reaching out to someone the first time, we kind of have to introduce us as a brand in some sort of situation they recognize. So, say, as an example, you know, I'm building Fibbler. We're a platform for LinkedIn ads where we're trying to help marketeers convince the executive team that LinkedIn ads is working. So then, if it's a first-time buyer, I would like to show up in some sort of situation where we illustrate a marketeer having a difficult conversation with the executive team, um, and then introduce our brand, not the product, not talk about what we do and the product, but make them see our brand, feel our brand, in that situation. And then when we come to retargeting, that's the time when we can introduce more, okay, this is how we actually solve the problem. And I think this is a typical issue, right? That there's a lot of companies running these type of demo ads when people have never heard about you. The likelihood that someone would book a demo with launch directly from this ad, it's zero in a cold layer like that, I think.
Mm. Does that mean if so a lot of SaaS companies they see they want to create those use cases or feature ads where they show off their product UI in a simplified way.
No,
Would you
no, but
think that's
I
a
don't
better?
necessarily think you need at all to show your product UI. It depends on what product you have, of course. I think
Mm,
it's more
mm,
more of like showing the physical situation your buyer is in when they feel the pain that you are solving for. That's like that's
mm,
the key, I think, because that's how we create emotion in a way. And then yes, in retargeting, you can of course show the product and show other things, but I still think like if you need to think about would anyone want to see this and would they engage with this?
mm.
I think.
Uh, I mean, just if I understand it rightly, so you're saying when you are targeting somebody for the first time, try to hit on the pain points, get make them feel emotional about that pain, and make them curious about how you solve. And when you're retargeting them, show them how you solve, because now they already know you, they recognize you. Maybe you want to show them either by showing off your product or maybe your social proof.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to summarize this?
Yes, I think that's a good way.
Great. And we'll move to the last ad creative. This is slightly older. It's by a company called PostHog. Um, Adam, maybe you want to take the first shot.
Another bus one, obviously. Yeah, this one as well. I know Posthog has this. I also know what they do and who they are, and they have this more traditional brand in a sense, which is kind of what. So that I like. I think they're branding it well, but again, I don't get this ad really. I don't get the point. Yeah,
Uh, I think same for me. I mean, I didn't understand that. I mean, humor is great, right? Because the humor makes people take a look at you again and again. But if I'm a newcomer, if I don't know PostHog, then maybe I'm not the right person to talk about PostHub, but to just watch this ad or something.
yeah,
But it's really hard to even get some context about the product.
exactly.
Great. So I think that marks end of the 10 ads we were talking about. Maybe you want to talk about what are your major takeaways? I mean, how can somebody improve, somebody become better at LinkedIn ads? What are your closing thoughts?
No, but I obviously think that the main purpose here of advertising is to make people feel something, and a starting point when doing an ad, right? Ultimately, if you are the same persona as the one you are targeting, is to look into yourself, right? Is this something I that actually make me feel something? And often the case, it's no, but we have to get some new ads out, so we run it out anyways. So I
Mhm.
really think people need to rethink how they think about ads in general, and what the purpose of them are. I mean, most of these B2B buyers that we're targeting, they will not buy for months yet. And what you need to do is to get in front of them over and over and over again, repeat the same message over and over and over again. And maybe at that point, they will remember you, in the moment of getting into market. But there's something about that we treat LinkedIn and other advertising platforms as well, like conversion machines, and that's not what they are. Yeah,
Super interesting. Super interesting. My take is, I mean, based on what you've explained, um, try to try to talk about the pain and get the emotion. Don't try to show off your product to first time prospects. And one more thing, I mean, I love to learn from B2C all the time when we create ads, um, because they always have this. I mean, they're first of all they're outside that the brand box, right? Because sometimes brand box doesn't make you think, but they really are able to make those bold, creative plays, which and hooks. I think hooks is the number one thing which most B2B ads miss, especially the video ads, because the first 3 or 4 seconds is where you make the killing. And I think that's something we can learn from B2C guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much, Adam. If folks who are watching this LinkedIn Live or maybe even the recorded version, if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about what you do, what's the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn obviously is the best way. So Adam Holmgren there. I typically post every weekday at least about my journey and what I'm up to. So yeah, reach out to me there.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Adam, for taking our time and all the very best for your upcoming entrepreneur journey.
Thank you.